It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jenn Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Hello and welcome to Countywide. I'm your host, Jenn Cohen. Thank you for joining us. Today we're talking with Verde Valley Fire District's Chief Nazih Hazime and also Russ, Shumate, who's the Northwest District Manager for the Department of Forestry and Fire Management. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
I've got to have you scheduled on the show more often because since I scheduled you, we've had rain. We haven't had any rain. And then I have you guys come on the show to talk about fire conditions and it rains. That's awesome. It's like washing your car.
That's all it takes to bring rain. Let's do it.
Thank you guys for being here. This is so important. There's so much going on always in Arizona with fires. We were talking just a few minutes ago. It's always fire season in Arizona.
That's correct.
It's amazing to think about that, Russ.
Yes.
And tell us why that is. Why are we different here?
Just diverse ecosystems across the state from north to south. A lot of the desert grasslands start burning earlier than the high mountains. The riverbeds in the desert, the salt and the Gila in the Colorado, they have fuels and weather conditions that allow it to burn all year long. We actively have fires down in the southeast going right now, and Salt Cedar Fire near Parker going. So just all times of the year, there's weather fuels and fuels that can burn.
Yeah. Bad. Now, how are we doing around here, Chief, right now? I mean, granted, we've had rain a couple of days, but that's not going to do much considering how dry we were before.
No, like Russ said, it doesn't last long. The moisture dissipates as quickly as it hits the ground, so we need a lot of rain to really have an impact on the ground levels, low fuels, if you will. So it's important that we still are cautious and take safety precautions in regards to wildland fires, and certainly want to prevent those from happening. So thinking safety all the time is critical, especially in Arizona.
And snow's a critical factor. Since we have no snow, the heavy fuels haven't been wetted down. So as soon as the rains go away, those heavy fuels are still dry. They don't have time to soak up the rain. They need the snow, and the snow melt to wet. So, you know, the rain is going to be short lasting. As things will dry out quickly after the rain.
That's true. By this weekend, we're supposed to be clear anyway. And when you say heavy fuels, Russ, we're talking about big trees?
Big logs, yeah.
Logs.
The log-sized things, they're already ready to burn. No snowpack this year to get them wet.
Right, for sure. And then the other types of fuels we have, the grasses, the brush, the stuff that I'm seeing now with the little rain, everything is busting forward. And there's all this new grass growing suddenly. And I think, gosh, next week that's going to turn yellow and it's going to be more fuel. Like, it's never ending.
That's correct. It's the links between the heavy fuel, as Russ just mentioned, the little big logs. Now you have the links with the low fuel that you just mentioned that grows with a little bit of rain. And that becomes more of a challenge then when you do have a wildland fire. It supports the spreading and the movement of the fire.
Right.
And you're exactly right. It is a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. But because what we need to understand is we live in a fire-adapted ecosystem. Fire is part of the ecosystem. The ecosystem demands it to be there. It's part of the natural scheme of things. We've just started building houses and lots of stuff where there used not to be. So these natural fires now are impacting human values negatively. So we have to just understand how to guard against those natural things, because we're never going to get rid of fire. Fire will always be there. This ecosystem survives with fire.
Right. Now, what are some of the things that we can do to cohabitate with the necessary fires that this area is destined to have?
If you want to protect values at risk, which are typically what we term in our fire service is the houses and property and life safety, to keep those protected as much as possible, reduce the risk to them, the most effective thing we can do is fuels mitigation around those values. So in the neighborhoods, where people are, we tend to want to reduce the amount of fuels available to burn. And if you do that, you can reduce the intensities of the fires and allow them to be suppressed easier.
And that's defensible space, correct,
Defensible
Chief?
space, that's correct. And first and foremost, you do your own property to protect your own property and clear those areas out as much as you can. 30 feet is the golden distance, I believe, for most part. But if you're on a slope, then it increases more because the fire travel can be faster. So you have to think about where the fire and how the fire can travel around your own property, and those are the areas you need to clear out. And you can't just be thinking about your own property either. It's the neighborhood you need to be concerned with. Some people just flat out choose not to remove any vegetation around their home because they love their trees and the bushes, and we understand that. However, if under fire conditions, that's fuel, and it's going to not only take out your house and your property, but it's going to take off, as we have seen with wildland fires. There's no borders.
That's
it just
true.
takes off and keeps going. So think about yourself, think about the neighborhood, think about your community.
What drives fires, Russ? How does it work? I look at fire like it's an animal. It's a very unpredictable animal. It's alive, and it's coming to get you.
Yeah, and that's a very popular understanding of fire. And it really, I always say it's not a wild animal. It's not unpredictable. It's just a mathematical equation. If we find enough of the variables to describe that equation, we can predict what it's going to do fairly easily.
Really?
It's hard to catch all the pieces of that equation and plug them in to get the result, but we've got pretty good at doing it. So we might not be able to tell exactly what the footprint of the fire is going to be, but I can tell you what the fire conditions how the fire will burn and the characteristics it will exhibit. And we can then make our plans to deal with those conditions. So the three things that drive fire behavior is fuels, weather, and topography. The intermix of those three items dictate how the fire behaves and how the fire spreads.
Right.
And as we protect our values at risk, it's hard to change the topography. We're going to live on a mountain or in a valley. It's hard to do anything about the weather. The weather is what the weather is that day. Sometimes the weather will allow fires to burn, sometimes the weather won't. We just have to accept what the weather is. But to protect our values at risk, we can deal with the fuels. And if we reduce the fuels to levels that fire doesn't want to go through that area, that's how we can do our prevention and preparation to protect the values that we have.
Right. That's the one thing we can take care of.
People have a choice, right? I mean, they've put themselves at risk by not taking the efforts to remove that fuel around their homes. It's a matter of understanding if it's predictable, it's preventable. If we know that if we don't clear it out, we do have a fire, there's a good chance it's going to catch onto our house, then we're going to lose everything. So take that upfront necessary actions and be proactive and be ready.
Yes, there's a wonderful program, as we will say, a program called Ready, Set, Go, which we're going to get into after the break. We're going to get into that really heavily, but it's kind of an umbrella over all the different fire safety slogans, such as FireWise, one less spark, one less wildfire. All that is now being kind of sat underneath of this program called Ready, Set, Go. Correct.
It started with a group of fire agencies, including the state forestry, all the local fire departments and districts, the sheriff's office, and all emergency management, first responders got together and decided this is the message we want to send to the community, Ready, Set, Go. And what does that mean? So there's going to be a lot of literature that's going to be sent out there and circulated around the state of Arizona.
Great. Excellent. So we're going to get into that right when we come back from our break. You can go to verdevalleyfire.org. Lots of good information there. You can also go to DFFM.az.Gov. Lots of great information out there on fire safety. You definitely want to take it into your own hands, and what you can control, you should. And we're going to take a little short break, and we'll be right back with lots more countywide, so don't go away.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit CottonwoodAZ.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.com.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And welcome back to Countywide. I'm Jenn Cohen. We're talking with the Verde Valley Fire District's Chief Nazih Hazime and also Russ Shumate, who is the Northwest District Manager for the Department of Forestry and Fire Management. We've been discussing, of course, year-round wildfire season here in Arizona, and now we're going to talk about Ready, Set, Go. This is a great program. I like it because it takes everything into one little compact idea that most people can swallow, much easier than all the different slogans. So this is going to work out great. So tell us, what's Ready, Set, Go, Chief?
And that's the goal, is to make it as easy as possible for people to understand it and to comply with what they need to do to be safe and protect themselves and their families and their properties. Ready starts off with prepare now, be prepared, be proactive. The defensible space we just mentioned is part of that readiness. You know, the threats are always out there, so you always want to think about what you can do and how you can protect your own property and your home by being prepared. That's the key. And part of that is the one less spark, one less wildfire. That's still part of this as well. And that falls under the readiness. You know, are you dragging change on your vehicles when you're towing trailers? Your brakes in good shape? Are you dragging exhaust systems that can cause sparks? Flipping cigarettes out the window is one of the worst, and that happens all the time. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, but the majority of our wildland fires start off the roadways.
Absolutely. As a statistical, most fires are human caused in Arizona, and most of those fires are along roadways. So many different variables of what or reasons that cause. My experience has been probably mostly car-related issues, dragging chain pieces, hot pieces of metal coming off of vehicles, that sort of thing. That's where most of the numbers of fires are.
I bet.
Even if you have to pull over for whatever reason to do something inside your vehicle, always think about where you're pulling off too.
Yes.
I mean, you drive over high grass, dry grass, it's going to ignite.
And especially if you want to park on the, it's a very,
oh yeah,
you get a flat tire and pull off the road and park on the grass. Or I was out hunting this weekend, and that was one of the concern is I was driving a 2-track with grass underneath it. I'm sitting here really going, that's real dry. I really don't want to be sparking a fire with my exhaust pipe on the grass. So
it's just that easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just amazing. Yeah, and then the cigarette butts, of course.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on the cigarette butts coming out the window.
Yeah, you see it all the time. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in nature, we have lightning, basically.
Correct. Lightning is, there's not many volcanoes active around here, so.
Thank goodness.
Well, in the winter we get some lightning fires too as frontal systems come through, and they might produce thunderheads, but it's mostly the monsoon season where the bulk of the natural fires come.
Right.
And if we do have natural fires, a lot of the land management agencies try to let fire do what fire's supposed to do in the ecosystem, and we do allow those fires to take their course under conditions that we set.
Right.
But for the most part, fire season in Arizona is predominantly human-caused fires that we're trying to manage.
So you've always got to be ready every second. You've got to be ready, you've got to be prepared. You've got your defensible space. What else is involved with getting ready? Of course, obviously, you've got your family plan, the evacuation plan.
Correct.
And you've got to have all the things that you need together. Just be ready to go, is what ready means. Get ready, everything you need, have a plan. That way, when, whoop, there's a wildfire, it's going to happen. You have that preparedness going.
Yeah, and it's again got to be thinking ahead of the game, and what are you going to need to survive if you do have to evacuate, and what is important? Do you have your medications with you, your prescriptions, important documents that you may need? Just think about what is important that you're not willing to lose, and that is what you should be taking with you. And then where are you going to go once you evacuate? So have that plan also, not just I'm going to leave the house, leave the neighborhood, but where are you going to go? Right. Through emergency management, many of the schools in the neighborhoods are shelters, are evacuation sites. Obviously, if conditions warrant that people are going to need to be evacuated, they'll be notified ahead of time.
And how do you get notification if there's an evacuation order?
Well, Code Red is a site that we recommend people go to through the Sheriff's Department YCSO website, and go to Code Red, and you can just simply sign in and be part of the system. If the conditions are coming, say, within the Verde Valley area, then we will certainly, the fire department along with the Sheriff's Department, will go around door to door and make the announcements, reverse 911 through our communications center. There's a number of different ways that we can notify the residents.
Great, so we will get notified from multiple agencies.
And in Yavapai County, we've really worked hard to coordinate the fire services with the YCSO, because YCSO has the authority to go out there and do the evacuations. They're the legal authority for that. We help them recommend when it's time, but they have that authority. So we always work really close together on every incident that is potentially involving threat to structures. And we coordinate with them tightly so they can keep their people safe as they're going out door to door. And they know what areas to cover and where we're going to need the evacuation. So it's Scott Masher and his organization really works closely with the fire incident command teams to coordinate all this at the time.
That's good to hear.
Right, ready is understanding that you need more than one plan too, because you never know where that incident can occur. So you need more, need a couple backup plans too, I think. You need a plan A and plan B, and the Code Red will, as the incident determines where the threats are, they'll also tell people where they need to be going to get away from that threat.
Okay, so you can go to YCSOaz.gov. You can check that out, and that's going to tell you information that you're going to need about current conditions in Code Red. Get signed up for that. I love all those alert systems. So ready, be prepared, set, be alert, because something's going on. You may have to move, and then go, of course, is have your evacuation plan. Where are you going to go? That's a big one. Do you have everything you need? And hopefully, if you did your defensible space, you took care of your home, it'll be as good as it's going to be, and now it's time for you to get out.
Yeah, and having that secondary evacuation site is important. Russ had mentioned, because you never know where that fire is going to be coming from. So your evacuation pre-planned site may be impacted by that fire.
Oh my gosh.
So where's the secondary?
Right.
So you got to also think ahead in those regards.
All right, we're going to take another short break, but we'll be right back. We're talking with Verde Valley Fire District's Chief Nazih Hazime and Russ Shumate, the Northwest District Manager for the Department of Forestry and Fire Management. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
she doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new.
Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened?
Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.com.
Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
Mateo.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys?
It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
And welcome back to Countywide. I'm Jenn Cohen. We're talking with Verde Valley Fire District's Chief Nazih Hazime and Russ Shumate, the Northwest District Manager for the Department of Forestry and Fire Management. A few minutes left. We've been talking about ready, set, go. And one of the things, Chief, that you mentioned, set. Now we don't have to wait. Is that what you were saying?
That's correct. That's correct. It's at the set phase of ready, set, go. It's telling you that there is danger nearby, and you don't need to be told to go to actually evacuate and leave your premises. If you ever even think littlest chance that you're in danger, you should just go and follow the plan that you had pre-set.
Oh, very good.
So your evacuation location, take your emergency bag with you, with all your belongings that you want to take, and be prepared.
Okay, and then just go. Don't wait to be
go.
told to go. You can go when you want.
And if for any reason you choose not to go, there may not be any more communications between first responders, the sheriff's office, and the forestry, because we may not be able to reach you.
Right,
if the conditions get so bad, so you're going to be on your own. There's a chance you can be on your own.
Right.
We're going to do whatever we can, obviously, to help whoever needs help.
Right.
But making the right decision up front is critical.
Oh gosh, okay. Now let's talk burn permits. That's a really big thing. You know, we've created defensible space, so now we have this pile of brush and stuff. What do we do with that?
Well, if you fall under a burn permit, there are rules and guidelines that you follow under a burn permit, and every agency within the Verde Valley follows that. So we're all pretty consistent. It puts you into the system, into our dispatch system. So if you call any given day, like in the morning, for instance, and you have a pile that you want to dispose of or burn off, you call our dispatch and they'll tell you if it's a burn day, or maybe it's just a half a burn day. Maybe you can only burn up to noon. Or if it's a full burn day, because the conditions are going to allow you to do it, they'll let you know. They document it into the system. And because of that, then we're notified as a fire department if the neighbors call and say, I see flames and fire in my neighbor's backyard, not sure what's going on. First thing we're going to ask, is there a burn permit that's activated in this area? And our dispatcher can tell us yes. So we can take a deep breath and say, okay, now we know what's going on there and why it's called in. So it's important that whoever is burning that day is in the system with our dispatch communication center, so that we're all on the same page. We know what's going on within those neighborhoods with burn permits. But there are guidelines you need to follow. You know, you got to burn clean wood. It can't be treated wood of any kind.
Like
so
construction debris.
Correct. We're trying to protect the environment, obviously. So the burning has to be clean, has to be attended to until it's completely out. Cold to touch. Out.
Yeah, drowned and cold.
Having a water source nearby is also beneficial, just in case.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And if there's any doubt of it getting out of control or you're not sure what to do, call the fire department. We'll come and assist you.
Excellent. Excellent. I have to say, as a homeowner with a whole lot of brush, it's daunting and scary to think about lighting a fire in my own backyard.
There's ways you can do it safely, though. So that's one thing. It's good to have a healthy fear, but you understand that fire is a good tool, and land managers use it all the time, and would like the citizens to use it. The rules that he indicates help keep the conditions to where they're safe and manageable, and the risk is acceptable and low.
Absolutely. And the cleaner you keep your property, the lower your risk of it catching on fire.
Absolutely.
During the wildfire season is. Wow. All right. We've got about 1 minute left. What else do we want to throw in there?
I'd say, let's not say it won't catch fire. It won't have a damaging, catastrophic fire go across it, because, again, we got to understand we live in a fire-adapted ecosystem. We have to understand fire is always going to be there. It's what is the impact to it. A low-intensity fire is easy to suppress, and it doesn't impact our values that we have there. So reducing the fuels to keep that fire low intensity and slow moving is our goal, because we can't guard we can't eliminate the risk of a fire ignition, either human caused or natural ignition. It's going to occur. How intensive is it going to burn? And that's what we can manage. And if we keep our properties at lower fuel levels, the fire intensity is going to be low, and the fire response can put it out, and it won't impact the values that we have out there, which is the
well
life
said,
and property.
Russ. Appreciate that. Chief Hazime, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, Russ. Thank you.
Thank
Russ,
you.
Shumate, everyone. Okay, so go to YCSOaz.gov. You're going to find code red there. You can check out verdevalleyfire.org. You can go to DFFM.az.Gov. You can go to firewise.org. Check it out. Be ready, be set. Let's go. Get this handled. Fire season year round. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the work you're doing. That's all the time we have for Countywide. I'm Jenn Cohen. See you next time.